Today I am going to be showing you why curiosity matters in terms of employer branding. I'm also going to be showing you why it is so damn difficult to be curious in organizations. And then I'm going to give you hacks or tips for how to create a curious state and the 3 mantras of curiosity. So let's go. I don't think that there is any organization here who wants to be associated with that. The problem is that if you are not curious as an organization, this is what it breeds. According to Todd Kashdan, a lack of curiosity is a breeding ground for stereotyping, discrimination, arrogance, and the rest. So then it's no small wonder that, according to the New York Times 4 or 5 months ago, passionate curiosity was seen as a top leadership trait in new senior hires. All that, according to Fast Company in June, it was a top trait for sales executive hires. Because curious people, in this case in terms of salespeople, ask fabulous questions. Curious senior execs are not so egotistical about their one position that they are actually prepared to give it up. So it's about how do you create adaptability, the ability to collaborate, and the ability to really, really get diversity of perspective. And that's really what curiosity brings. The problem is that systemically in organizations, we are not set up for it. What's the first thing that strikes you as missing here? What, you said it? A computer. So in the past, our busyness was very evident. You are not going to go to this person and ask them for help. But what's happened now is that our busyness has become hidden. It's in our laptops and it's in our head. And there's a wonderful term for it, which is called organizational dematerialization. And what organizational dematerialization says that when our processes of working become invisible and technologized, it has an impact on our people. So we did a study with some of our execs at the GSP and BCT, and just said to them, you know, how has your work changed? 98% of them said, and you can put your hand up if you feel the same for each one of these 3, working longer hours, taking shorter breaks, and multitasking more. And frankly, the sense of absolute information overload, the sense that we are living in times where the rate of change happens faster than our ability to respond to it, just results in our only response being this. Must go faster. And what speed does is that it, to a large extent, shuts down curiosity. I'm not saying that speed isn't important in terms of efficiencies in organizations, but as we know, for many, we too lean to dream. Because here's the big horror around speeding up and trying to process more. Your body can only process 110 bytes of information per second. You're just listening to me now takes up 55 bytes. There isn't much left. So God help the multitaskers. But the point is that if you cannot shore up your attention over time, because you cannot build up a quantity of attention, what you can do, however, is to improve the quality of your attention. We live in an age which they call the attention economy, because what information consumes is our attention. So we live with a highly distracted workforce? How do we get people to focus their attention in a way that really adds value and creates the kind of alignment that we are looking for when it comes to employer branding? And I think that this is where curiosity comes in, because curiosity, unlike attention, is an appreciating asset. The more you use your curiosity, the more it grows. The reason why organizations are profoundly frightened of curiosity is because they think that curiosity is wonder or awe. They think that if people are curious, then basically what's going to happen is that they're going to spiral into this place of just being even more distracted. The thing is that curiosity is not wonder. Wonder is always about the general. It's about, oh, there's this and there's this and there's this. Curiosity is always about focus. And it's about it being a lens to make your attention better. So if it is important, then how do we create it in our organizations? I think you need three things. I think you need stimulus. I think you need time. And I think you need to suspend judgment. And judgment and the suspension thereof is perhaps a lifetime's work. Because killing the critic in your head is not easy. The voice of fear that says, I'm going to be shown up. The voice of judgment that says, I can't do this. Who am I trying to fool? And the voice of cynicism that says, we've tried it before, doesn't work. So how do we still these kinds of voices? I've developed a method that I'd like to share with you called the attention audit, which is really a way of dealing with those three voices. I run a program at UCT called Business Acumen for Artists, and trust me, the most judgmental people in the world are artists. Get an artist to draw someone's face in a minute, they almost have a nervous collapse. So I've designed a process for them to help deal with these voices in their head. And basically what you need to do is set aside 2 days, and you set your cell phone to go off every 2 hours, 6 times a day for 2 days. When your buzzer goes off on your phone, you stop and you write down what the voice in your head is saying, and which voice is it? Is it cynicism? Is it judgment? Is it fear? And then what you do is you take 3 deep breaths. And with every deep breath, you imagine yourself 10 years older. And after being 30 years old, he's laughing. There was one woman, she was like 60 already. I said, you can make it in 5s. But then you respond back with what I call the voice of grace, which is, I think, your inner coach. And you respond back from this place that is enormously supportive and gracious and wise and full of support for you. And you write down something of encouragement. So if your voice of fear is saying, I don't know what I've got myself into, but I'm terrified and I'm going to be shown up, your voice of grace could respond back and say, well done for trying something new and different, and I'm so proud of you. What I have found is that the people that do this exercise, by time 11 on day 2, the voices are gone. And all that is left is the voice of grace. So why do we find this kind of thing so hard to do? It's free, it works, but there will probably be about 30% of you in the room that will be courageous enough to do it. I encourage you to make a hell of a difference. Because ultimately this is what we're trying to achieve. If we want to have extraordinary brands and organizations that attract people and retain people, what a better value proposition than to say, replace your fear with curiosity. I know I'd come. So in closing, I'd like to give you key mantras that have helped me around trying to stay curious in a world of extraordinary uncertainty and of speed. And I think the first thing is, go slow to go fast. How many of you watched ladybugs on their hand as a child? And how many of you had that experience of time just slowing down? That's called rapt attention. The great slow thinkers, Milan Kundera, who wrote a book in praise of slow. Einstein, who would sit for hours staring out of his window of his office at Princeton University, just to get a sense of slowing down and perhaps another perspective. And thirdly, who's he? Darwin. Darwin, who liked to describe himself very fondly as a slow thinker. So you would be in good company. The second, answers don't change the world, questions do. Because as leaders, we are taught that those with the answers are those with the power. And frankly, that does not hold anymore. Your answers you can go find online. And your answer right now might not be the answer you need tomorrow morning. So how are you allowing yourself to see other perspectives? My favorite is the story of the Zen master and the businessman. And the businessman comes up to the Zen master and says, teach me everything you know. And the Zen master says, can I pour you a cup of tea? And the businessman says, oh no, I haven't got time for tea. I'm very busy with matters of great consequence. Just tell me quickly everything that you know. And the Zen master says again, can I pour you a cup of tea? And the businessman says, yes, but it must be very quick. So the Zen master pours and pours, and the tea completely overflows out of the teacup. And the businessman says to the Zen master, but the tea is overflowing. And the Zen master says, yes, just like you, you are too full of your own knowing. Go away, unlearn, so that we can relearn together. And how often are we creating these spaces to unlearn in our organizations? In closing, the third mantra is the sense of being fascinated with your own ignorance. There was a man, this man, and he said to his people, come to me every 48 hours and tell me about what you are seeing that looks different from what you know. Come and tell me about your ignorance every 48 hours. They did this process for 1 year. This man's name is Ernst Rutherford, and him and his team split the atom as a result of that process. How many of you had an imaginary friend? Please put up your hand if you did. You see, I hated you people because I always wanted one and I never had one. So you know what I've realized? You know who my imaginary friend is now? My own curiosity. Because it follows me everywhere and it shows me extraordinary things. And I hope that by the time I am very old, and by the time you are very old, that you still have that as an extraordinary friend.
This video was developed by the CRF Institute